want to start with a question. You wrote, directed, and acted this film, and it made me wonder if you could do this with your ideal cast. Who would be your perfect cast to write for, direct, and act with?
Oh my goodness. Like a new movie, not
Like a
the
new
thing I
movie,
did,
like
right?
a new
Not the
movie.
remake
Yeah,
of my...
yeah, this is your pitch.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, don't get me started. This is
Okay.
going to be a long interview. Okay. Top of my list would be Sissy Spacek.
Oh, wonderful.
I just love Sissy Spacek and everything she does. And then maybe as her, I don't know, her sister, whatever, Isabelle Huppert. I
Okay.
love Isabelle Huppert. Who else would I pick? As a director, you mean also?
Yeah,
or
so
who I want to direct?
You wrote, directed, and you're acting in this, and you're you're assembling your perfect cast.
Oh God, it must be so. Who else would I pick? I really love. Maybe I would pick. I would pick people that I grew up with seeing on screen.
Awesome. Yeah.
Someone like Elliot Gould. I don't know if he's still working, but he was a really big one for me when I was growing up.
All right.
So yeah, people like that. But Sissy Spacek, I have to say, has always been. I think I saw her when I was 9 years old in Carrie. I was much too young for the film, but I fell in love with her, and I didn't know, do I want to be her? Do I want to, am I in love with her? I think she's fabulous.
Absolutely.
And she's doing a new film now, I heard.
Oh,
with,
is that
Nick
true?
Nolte, yes.
All right.
A new Lynn Ramsey film, so I'm excited about that.
Very cool. Well, we're going to
Yeah.
put this out in the universe and see what happens.
We'll see. I have to write something for her.
You have to write something.
Yeah.
Yes, you make
Yeah.
it that call. You have to have it on deck.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, we're here to talk about your film, Sad Jokes, which has its world premiere on September 9th here at the Toronto International Film Festival.
Yeah.
For people who are just discovering this film, can you give a little synopsis on what it's about?
Yeah, sure. Sad Jokes is a movie about Joseph, who's a filmmaker. He's a gay man, and he has a child with his best friend, Sonya, who is struggling with depression. So while he's trying to take care of his friend and his son, he's also working on a new film, a comedy, which no one really thinks it's funny, so that's a problem for him. So it's kind of a vignette of, short situations, moments of his daily life that he has to juggle with. So it's kind of a bittersweet, sometimes very silly, sometimes very sad story.
Yes, tone is something that I really wanted to address in this interview because I've never written a film, but I can imagine that writing comedy is tough. I can also imagine writing these like really emotional moments that you have in this film is also tough. Talk to me about how you balance that in your writing and how you're able to get it on paper, but then also translate that to read properly in film.
Yeah. It's funny, that was actually the part that I was most nervous about because I am also aware of that can be quite hard to maintain,
Right.
that balance. And when I worked on my feature film 2 years ago, I was surprised when it opened in the cinemas that the audiences were having such a nice time with it, because I always thought it's such a drama and it's quite serious, and then people were laughing also sometimes, and I thought, that's interesting, and I really enjoyed that. And from there I think came the idea of pumping up those volumes even a bit more, of having of creating a story that's in equal parts serious and heartbreaking and a bit dark even maybe, and then having even almost slapsticky moments of humor.
Yeah.
And I think, and I really until the editing I was really not sure if it would work, because it is quite unusual to put these two together, because it's really like a struggle of two beasts and see who wins, the serious part or the funny part.
Well, that's actually, how does that feel when you're developing the film? If you aren't sure until editing whether the concept or the tone is going to work, like how do you think about that when you're filming it and when you're writing, and all the steps that you have to take to get up to editing?
Yeah, I don't play an instrument, but writing this script, it really felt, it was the closest I've ever felt to composing a piece of music, because it was so much about, where do you speed it up, where do you calm it down, where do you put a pause, where can it, break out. And I think for me, looking back, it felt like you have to be really decisive about going for it. I think if you decide this scene is supposed to be a slapstick scene, a funny scene, like when he, gets his finger stuck in the vending machine, like you really have to go for it and not have it half-heartedly funny. Otherwise, I don't think it works. It has to be really embarrassingly silly and funny, and physical comedy, stuff like that. And then putting it together and deciding, how long do you let a scene play out? Also in the edit, what do you deciding where do you enter a scene, when do you leave the scene? So it was really about composing a rhythm.
That's awesome. There is a very unconventional relationship between Joseph and Sonya in this film. Can you talk about the inspiration for their relationship and what made you decide that this was something you wanted to tell in the story?
Yeah, that's actually one of the elements of the film that are autobiographical. In that, I have a very close friend in real life who is a mother of two. She's a single mom, and we decided when she was pregnant with the first child that we were going to raise them together. So we always call ourselves the modern family because, I'm gay, she's not gay, we're not a couple, but we're very close friends, and we have these two kids. The kid in the film is actually one of those boys, and so we are very close. And I really wanted to show a relationship that's, like a friendship-based parenthood situation that exists, and that in my, personal life is quite a big part of my life, but I rarely see that on screen, so that was really important for me to show that, and not so much explain it, but just show it.
Absolutely, and it's there, it is what it is, and that's just what the story is. I think what you're getting at right now is this idea of kind of write what you know.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? And I think that's a very, that's for authenticity in storytelling, that's a really important component. But I also recognize, like in this film, there are so many like emotional moments in this film, particularly like when it comes to Joseph's ex and the moment that they have, the moments with Sonya and her vulnerability. Can you talk more about where those moments come from in you and how you write those, where you pull that from?
I think it's funny. I think for a while I wasn't so aware of it, but I think now thinking about and talking a lot about it, I started to realize that I do work a lot like that, like about, what if scenarios. Like I agree. I think because I used to be, like I'm still an actor and I've been working as an actor for 20 years, and for the last few years I started writing and directing, right? So it's still pretty new to me. So I think for me it really works to have that approach to it, to say, write what you know and keep it close to your life and the lives of the people around you. But I do think, for example, these moments of, meeting an ex, that you, after breakup for a long time, you always hope you run into your ex, but you also dread it. And then these things never really happen to me, like in the film, but I always felt like if you could manage to have a meet up like that, and then to let go of each other and say goodbye and you're fine, maybe that would be the ideal thing. I never had that, so I wrote it and I put it in the film and acted it out in the film, Or my good friend in real life, the mother of the children, is not suffering from depression, but I have an experience like that in my family and my childhood. So, to be able to write scenes about these subjects and act them, it's weirdly liberating and soothing, and not to say therapeutic, that's maybe a bit too much, but there is a part of that in it, I think.
Well, I think this is such an unintentional theme of this interview, but I guess I just have a lot of questions about this. Still kind of on the subject of writing what you know. This is a film about an artist, a filmmaker, who's trying to pitch his film, trying to get people interested in it. Well, is that also autobiographical, and how much of that is your own experience?
I have to say, the first film that I did kind of came out of nowhere because no one was really aware that I was working on it, and so it was a nice surprise when it opened. We got the chance to open at the Berlin Film Festival last year. I won a really nice award for my screenplay, so people really seemed to connect with it and enjoy it. That was really lovely. And so the second time I did a film, a lot of people were paying attention and giving a lot of unwanted advice, I would say. So that was a little bit difficult sometimes. And I didn't have producers telling me, the script is shit and it's not funny, you can't do it. But I had a lot of people warning me about stuff. And so also there, I kind of, thought, okay, what if I was to write a comedy and no one would find it funny? That would be awful. So I put it in the film, you know.
What do you, so the world premieres tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are you most nervous about with that?
I think I am most nervous about maybe the language part, because it's a very dialogue-based film,
It is.
you know, and so and a lot of the humor is also kind of language-based, I guess, I would say. Not all of it, but some of it. So that will be interesting, you know, to see how it plays with an international speaking audience. I mean, I've been getting nice reactions so far, so I'm kind of fine, but it will be interesting, you know.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm excited.
There's one scene I really want to talk about, and it's the opening scene, or that was the scene at the beginning of the film, where it starts with Sonya, and then the family kind of intervenes in her presence there.
Yeah.
And man, it's that one shot of just what's happening in the kitchen, and it's so well orchestrated. Tell me about filming that, constructing that, playing it out. Tell me about that scene.
That was I was most nervous about that scene, I have to admit. Because when I wrote it, I immediately thought I wanted to be one shot. I wanted to look through a door and have the characters, you know, play them, you know, enter the scene, leave the scene, and you have to kind of really stick it out as an audience and first be also disoriented a little bit, and then little by little you get the connections, you know. And so we did rehearse a lot. I don't like rehearsing in front of the camera, but I like to, of course. We talked a lot about it. We read it out a lot. And then the day of the shooting, like you said, we choreographed it. It was really like a dance. And I remember sweating a lot because it was really a lot of work. And they were so wonderful, all the actors and actresses. They were so well prepared and focused. And I think we did maybe 8 takes of that. And then the last one was the one that ended up in the film, because it was kind of for me the most interesting mixture between rehearsed things, moments, but then accidents also, and that's always what I go for. I always look for the stuff that's unplanned. It's kind of close to life.
Oh my goodness, that is such a well orchestrated scene, and I'm a big fan of like the one shot kind of stationary things where the audience is just fly on the wall watching what happens.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
And, you know, I guess while I'm talking about scenes, there is another long take scene that happens towards the end of the film, where Joseph is talking with a friend of his, and I'm spacing on her name right now, but he's talking about how the film that he wanted to do, what's happening with that, and they end up doing this monologue, or she ends up doing a monologue, and again, it's just this one take, but it was really interesting because when she does the monologue, the camera pushes into her, and it's this really awesome dramatic effect. Tell me about orchestrating that one.
I'm happy that you ask about that, actually, because that's a really nice story. The actress is called Ulrika Flack. She's a Swedish actress, and we met over 20 years ago when we both studied acting in New York at the Lee Strasberg, and we were really close friends back then, and she always would rehearse this monologue of Joan of Arc in class and make everyone cry, and we were like, oh, she's so talented, and once she goes back to Sweden, she's going to be huge. And then she ended up doing a bit of theater, and and we lost touch a little bit. And then when I wrote the script, I don't know, I really don't know why, but I think I must have seen a photo of her on Instagram or something, and I thought, wow, Rika, she was lovely back then. I wonder what she's up to now. And then I kept on dreaming about her, and then I wrote the character with her in mind and turned her into a Swedish character. And then I put this monologue in, and when I sent her the script, she was really sweet, and she had seen my first film, and she said, I'd love to join. And then she read it, and she told me she got really emotional because she thought it was going to be like a waitress bringing in like a Coca-Cola and then leaving. And then she read it, she was like, and you put the monologue in, and so also with her, she flew to Berlin for 3 days, and she was super lovely and well prepared, and just, went for it, and it was super easy to work with her. It was wonderful.
That's incredible. So your first film premiered in Berlin. This film is premiering here in Toronto. Just tell me what it means to you to have Sad Jokes having its world premiere here at the Toronto International Film Festival.
It's a huge privilege. I feel very lucky. When you make a film, or at least I never anticipate, a reaction or where it's going to go, or how far it's going to travel. But then to have been invited here, I'm so into movies. My whole life I've been connected to film and following all the festivals around the world. So to be here and be able to show the film and talking to people like you, it's just incredible. It's just, to think about how I write these scripts in my apartment in Berlin with my dog, and then, make them into films, and then be here on the other side of the world almost, and then have people connect with it. It just means the world to me. I'm super grateful.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. One more question
Thank
for
you
you
so
before we
much.
leave.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you have to do in Toronto before you head back to Berlin?
I haven't had poutine yet.
You haven't
Yeah,
had poutine
and I love
yet?
poutine,
How long
and
have you been in town and you haven't had poutine
Like
yet?
3 days? No, that's it.
I am shocked no one's handed you a bowl of poutine yet.
Well, to talk to my agents. No. No, I think we're going to go for poutine later.
Definitely do that before you
Yeah.
leave. So, anyway, congratulations again on the film,
Thank
Fabian,
you so
and thank
much.
you for this
Thank
opportunity
you.
to talk.
Thanks for having me.